not much. It's just a place where it holds money. Fed's balance sheet. It's like a mutual fund. I mean, in fact, it's as the Treasury has been issuing bills to refill the Treasury General account, we've actually seen the reverse repo overnight facility declining. So,
isn't there some sort of conflict with higher requirements, liquidity, and lending in the market? Or is there any tension there?
I don't. It's in the economy. We're likely to see the reverse repo facility shrink dramatically, and I think without particularly important macroeconomic effects.
If you think about the implications, the Fed had to intervene in September of 2019 to provide stability and liquidity to that market. The fact that the Fed needed to use an emergency facility to intervene in the market would normally indicate some cause for alarm. Do you feel like that was an aberration? There's no more cause. Everything's been settled.
Well, that was about suddenly finding ourselves in reserve scarcity. So we'd been monitoring the level of reserves really carefully and thinking that we knew where demand spiked and there weren't enough reserves. So you had a situation where we had to supply reserves in big quantities. That's not what's going on with the reverse repo facility was at zero for a very long time. And I think it's shrinking now. We don't know how much it will shrink.
Well, I think the growth of it kind of highlights some of the related concerns for inflation and tension between liquidity and frankly, when you look at the requirements and the alternative returns in the market, there's concern. Then it certainly has implications. So I would love to follow you on maybe align my own views with the thinking at the Fed and with some market participants. When I think about the Federal Reserve, of course, we think about monetary policy, and we want Fed autonomy on monetary policy to some extent. A lot of non-market intervention that, to me, continues to be a cause for concern. Continued purchases of mortgage-backed securities, for example, prevent real price discovery. Is Fed's purchasing propping up prices, or is it holding them artificially low? It's a non-market influence. And I think it has some distortions. So as chairman of Housing and Insurance, I am continue to be concerned about that. But the other thing is really the big concern is the regulatory side.
Gentleman's time's expired.
We'll
now recognize Ms. Garcia for the ultimate question of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman Powell, for being here today. It always is a pleasure to have you report on from the Feds. I first want to thank you personally for working on a topic that has always been dear to my heart and dear to the heart of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I know several members have already touched a little bit on issues related to diversity inclusion, and you yourself said something. I really was struck by the words you used, that when you look at setting the interest rates, you want to reflect that all of in the room for you to do it. And in my view, the best way to do that is to make sure the people at the table pay those interest rates what America looks like. So I want to thank you again for the Hispanic Chamber served on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors in its 109-year history. It took a while, but we're there now, and hopefully that will help ensure that when decisions are being made, that all Americans are indeed in the room with you. And so I want to thank you and the President both for making sure that that happens. I know that in my district that is 77% Latino, we're really proud of that fact. But Mr. Chairman, I wanted to see if you could provide me an update on the federal workforce, particularly within the Fed system, because I think that area two, you may recall we've discussed it before in prior times that you've been here, the workforce doesn't quite look like America. So could you give me an update on where we're at with diversity and inclusion issues related to Latinos in the federal workforce for the Fed?
Sure. Well, I guess the place I would start is a good part of the story, which is the directors of the 12 reserve banks around the country. That's been an area where we've focused heavily on diversity and inclusion, and I think met with a great deal of success. So relatively high numbers. We can give you the numbers. We'll be happy to. relatively high numbers of both Hispanics and African Americans and other minorities, and majority of women. In terms of the workforce, we actually had a particular focus at the Federal Reserve Board on Hispanics and working hard, particularly devoting ourselves to a tight focus on generating more Hispanic contact and more Hispanic employees. And I think we had some success with that. We spent a whole year of that doing that a year or so ago. And so, it's a very important, the most successful organizations in American society, or it's not a coincidence that they seem to me to be the ones that have pretty advanced diversity and inclusion programs, so that they do have, all different parts of America represented around the table.
Great. Another area of concern for me has always been affordable housing. I know that is a challenge for us in Houston, and also the challenge of combating the homelessness crisis across America. I know that the ranking member, Chair Waters, this morning filed some bills related to seeking increased dollars for affordable housing and dollars for tackling the homelessness problem. Do these issues impact all Americans?
I think they may have a marginal effect on inflation. Labor force participation has an important effect on labor supply, which has an effect indirectly on inflation as well. So,
how long have we had the 2% goal for inflation rate?
Unofficially for a quarter of a century, and officially since 2012. And other central banks.
What factors would have to occur for you to reconsider the 2% since it's been there for so long?
What would have to happen for us to reconsider it? I can't really think of anything. Nothing during my tenure will.
Thanks, Chairman. I appreciate it.
I'd like to thank Chair Powell for his testimony today. Without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days within which to submit additional written questions to the witness through the chair, which will be forwarded to the witness for his response. I ask Chair Powell and the team to please respond no later than July 30th, 2023. And with that, this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you.